Elon Musk's SpaceX may stop humans going to the moon in 2025. Yep. So there's a few things here that I want to talk about. Most of them are disappointing, but so long and the short of it is the U.S. Government Accountability Office has essentially thrown a wet blanket on NASA's plans on returning humans to the surface of the moon for the first time in 50 years since the Apollo missions.
Yep.
The original timeline was going to be 2025, and now it's looking like 2027, and that has mostly to do, and not entirely to do, with SpaceX's development of the human landing system, which is essentially a modified Starship launch vehicle that we covered. I think it was maybe last episode or the episode before. They did their second orbital test where it gained altitude and successfully disconnected, like the booster fell off, and then we just had Starship, but then exploded. Anyway, the human landing system is a modified version of Starship, and according to the Government Accountability Office, which is essentially a regulatory agency that picks and combs through NASA's plans, and I'm not sure. The only time I've written about them is to do with NASA, but so I'm guessing they do that with other agencies as well.
Yeah.
But they come in, look at NASA's schedule, look at the developments for the technologies that they're making, and go, well, that also can take into account their budget. Well, yeah, this is lining up, but this isn't. And then they identify key areas that are lacking in development. So according to their report that was released on November 30, there is key problems with the human landing system, which is, and specifically the transportation to the surface of the moon. So, and also there's other problems with including larger oxygen tanks within spacesuits by astronauts. So I'm not sure what's going on there exactly, but that is an area of development that the Government Accountability Office flagged. The current plan for Artemis 3 is convoluted. It is all over the place. So Starship launches from the surface of the planet, but because Starship is going to burn, or the HLS, the Human Landing System, is going to burn all of its fuel exiting Earth's orbit, it then needs to refuel with a fuel depot that is already in orbit to then have enough fuel to go to the moon. So there's another problem.
So disappointing.
There's another problem that lays within this. According to the report from the Government Accountability Office, SpaceX has made little progress in figuring out how to transfer propellant while in orbit. So there's a few big problems, like getting the... Well, one, we haven't even got Starship to orbit yet. That's big problem already. It keeps exploding. Still progress is being made, so thumbs up there, SpaceX. But getting it from space to the surface of the moon, big gaping issue there. Spacesuits aren't ready and don't appear to be ready in time for the launch of 2025. The fuel depot, SpaceX doesn't know how it's going to connect the HLS to the fuel depot to refuel. And all of those problems mean that we're now looking at a launch window in 2027. So a delay of 2 years, and hopefully the budget doesn't just run out. Disappointing news. It's that humans haven't landed on the surface of the moon for 50 years, and
50 years, yeah.
I wasn't alive. I wasn't alive for that, and it is something that I've always wanted to. I mean, I definitely won't be sitting around a television to watch it, but I will be watching it nonetheless, live streamed.
Yeah, I'll be live streaming it on my television.
Yeah,
OLED, big screen OLED.
Absolutely,
that moon, baby. Absolutely. I'll be blowing it up on the biggest display that I have. But
the live stream quality for something like such a monumental human achievement is something that I want to see in my lifetime. And I mean, I'm only 25. Hopefully I'm alive by 2027. that would be tragic.
Like it's disappointing. So like just the other day, right? I was speaking to my brother and he was like, oh yeah, the moon landing 2025, lock it in. That's going to be so cool. We're talking about like actually like the moon for ages, watching, like as you do when you talk about the moon. Did we go? Did they land? Is this footage fake? The usual story.
Yeah.
If we don't have 3 or 4 hours spare to go into it at the moment.
No, we do not.
To discuss what do we think about the moon landing and the Apollo missions. But yeah, like it's just, I'm hyped for it. Like I just want to see, like I'm the same. I think we're all the same. Like anybody that obviously just grew up hearing secondhand that, we went to the moon like 20, 30 years ago or 40 years ago, and that's all right? Is like, back in the late 60s or early 70s, that's when people went on the moon, and it's like, that's a different time, that's a different era. We don't have a connection to that time or place.
Yeah.
Or that world. Like the only connection we have is either through our parents or looking at old photos or like, it's like, it's all secondhand. It's like, yes, like that is humanity and that's history, but we're not connected to it. And if you're interested in space travel, if you look up at the stars and you're in awe of what's potentially out there, even just like something like landing on the moon and being able to see it and know that it's happening right now, or this is what it looks like, or here's footage from 30 minutes ago, or here's footage from 2 days ago from the moon. Like how just amazing and inspiring that would be.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It'll just inspire so many people, a whole new generation. So just delaying it by 2 years is kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. You couldn't have put it better.
Based on what you said, now I'm just worried because it's like all this shit's not working. It's 2 years. Like surely like the 2025 thing, like if that was happening, all this stuff would have had to been sorted out a year ago, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, NASA development is tragic.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
They like at the current. This is the last line I wrote in the article, and I don't think we have mentioned this episode yet, but all the news that we've talked about today is found in the description below, and you can visit all those articles for future further reading. So the Government Accountability Office states that if significant progress isn't made on the HLS program and at SpaceX, because there's obviously more private contractors that are involved in different aspects of the development, it would be unlikely for Artemis 3 to launch in 2025. And at the current, maybe I didn't include that in the piece, but at the current rate of NASA development timelines, this isn't really surprising per se. Like, stuff gets delayed all the time, but nonetheless, it is disappointing, especially with something as important as humans stepping foot and stretching the distance of which pioneers have traveled. Like, space is the last frontier. There is nothing else out there, well, that we haven't discovered on Earth besides going into the core.
We should be talking about like the human Mars mission happening like next year or something. That's where we should be, right?
Oh, I mean, it's far away from that. It's far away. We haven't been to the moon in 50 years. We're landing on a planet that is, I mean, I think it's 3 times distance to Mars. Yeah, it's about 100 distance to moon. I think the moon is 250,000 k's. 384,000 kilometers is the moon, and Mars is 374,000,000.57. So yeah, bit further. Bit
when
further.
You put it like that, it's like okay.
It's a bit further. That's why it's going to take like 3 or 4 months to get to Mars, but I think it will only take us maybe even a couple days. I think it'll be a couple days.
Is it like a week to get to the moon, something like that?
I don't know. It depends on how fast the HLS is going.
Yeah.
Let's just do an approximation. How long does it take to get to the moon? About 3 days.
Okay, that's not too bad. It's a road trip.
Yes.
It's driving from Melbourne to Queensland, to Brisbane.
Yeah.
With ample stops though.
That's about it.